Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. We have 14 active cases now, excluding the 39 that were imported.
That's correct. We have 14, and then we, at the moment, are at a total of 43 imported, 40 from the Diamond Princess, 3 from Wuhan.
How did
Yes,
the
sir.
14 contract the virus?
The 14 contracted the virus. 12 of them contracted it by travel in Wuhan, China, and the other 2 were spouses of infected of those 12.
How was the virus transmitted?
I don't want to play doctor on this. It is transmitted generally by respiratory symptoms, but I would like to defer if I could. We'll be happy to get you from scientists the best assessment of transmissibility of the disease.
Can it be transmitted through food?
We do not believe that there would be fomite transmission through food, but we still are trying to learn of the sustainability of the virus on surfaces. That's what we call fomite transmission is. And Dr. Fauci has said he does not believe that there's a reason to believe it should survive more than a couple of hours on hard surfaces.
So it can survive a couple of hours outside the body.
That is what Dr. Fauci has said is the working assumption, but of course we do not have firm trial data on that yet. That's one of the things we're hoping to learn from the WHO team in China.
How is severity determined?
Severity is determined usually by fatality rate against the number of people infected.
Right, obviously. Let me rephrase that. That wasn't a very artful question. Some people get really sick, others don't.
Right.
Why the difference?
Well, we don't know. That will depend on the nature of this disease. For instance, with the 1918 flu, the so-called Spanish flu, it was interestingly your healthier, young, middle-aged adult males that seemed to have the worst reaction and greatest severity.
Let me stop you, Doctor. I don't want to get too far afield here. The short answer is we don't know, right?
We don't know right now, no.
Okay. How many face masks do we have?
We currently have 30 million N95 respirators in the Strategic National Stockpile.
How many do we need?
Dr. Kadlik mentioned to the Senate this morning needing approximately 300 million for healthcare workers.
We have 300 million healthcare workers in America, do we?
No, that would be assuming the need to swap out used ones.
Okay. Yes. What do your models show about how many cases we're anticipating?
Well, we don't know because we don't know the full attack rate in China. So, for instance, we've seen a high of 30% infection on the Diamond Princess, approximately, which was frankly, it seemed to be an incubator. In Wuhan, China, it's very hard to know what the total accurate number of cases are.
Okay. We don't know then.
We don't know.
Okay. Do you have models to try to answer this question?
Well, we can only extrapolate based on the data we get from China.
Is China telling you the truth?
We are getting data from China as the world is, but whether that information is full and transparent, we just don't know.
What's the mortality rate of the coronavirus?
It's showing right now anywhere between 1% and 2%, but again, that's based on a denominator. There may be many, many more cases in China that are low symptomatic or haven't secured treatment and hence aren't in the Chinese reported
What's
cases.
the mortality rate of influenza?
Seasonal influenza tends to be 0.1% mortality.
Okay, so we're talking about a substantially higher mortality rate.
It could be, again, dependent on what that denominator is. That's why we need to use great caution in making predictions about the severity of this.
How soon will we have a vaccine?
Well, as I mentioned, Dr. Fauci and the Wall Street Journal today talked about this going into clinical trial amazingly within 3 months after discovery. We could, within a year, have a vaccine, but we want to, through the supplemental, put multiple vaccine candidates out there. We have $1 billion of proposed investment in vaccine through the supplemental.
The Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, which is charged with keeping us safe, just testified about 10 minutes ago, a month and a half. Which is it?
One could not develop a vaccine in a month and a half. That's never happened in human history.
Maybe you ought to talk to the Secretary of Homeland Security before he spreads that too far. Are we getting the cooperation that we need from countries other than China And obviously Iran?
Well, obviously not Iran, but from other countries, yes, we believe so.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.